Hello everybody, this is Arid. In-game name is September on the Thunderwing as well as the public test server. I am on the public test server for this video. So what we're going to be doing in this video is I'm going to cover the cost, the gold cost, to gem your gear with no-break Lunagems. So this question actually came from a viewer who tracked me down in Discord. This is going to be from Iselmi Gaming. So his question is, or their question is, hey Arid, just had a question for you about Lunagemming. I've been looking for the gold cost to full gem gear and I'm unable to find any hard numbers. I understand that it costs labor and the price increases for every new gem you put into your gear, but I'm unsure about how costly it actually can get. No rush on your response, just thought I'd shoot you a question. Well, you know, I know a good question when I see one, and that was a good question. So after generally searching for answers, Googling it up and not finding anything, I decided, you know what, I'll figure it out myself. So that is just what I did. I'm going to show you exactly how much it costs to gem your gear with no-break Lunagems. Okay, so when I first started this project, the first thing I always do is ask myself a lot of questions and see what I can come up with for answers. And honestly, a lot of that stuff there was no answers to. So questions I asked myself was like, does the grade of the item matter? And what I'm talking about is if you have a divine or an epic or a mythic, does it cost the same amount to put a Lunagem in? Another question was like, does it cost more to socket a no-break when you already have a non-no-break in? So like if you had stuck in one or two of the pre 4.0 gems, does it cost more to put, a no-break on top of that? Another question I had was, does it cost more or less to socket based off of what you're socketing? Like if it's an armor piece, or if it's an armor piece, if it's a weapon, if it's a flute, if it's a shield, does it cost more? And then the other question I had was, well, if it doesn't, does all weapons cost the same? Like if you have a one-hand, a two-hand, a shield, or a bow, is it going to cost the same? So in the end, I found answers to all of these questions, and I'm going to be passing them on to you. Okay, so when you socket anything, there's basically three things that matter. First of all, it's the item type or craft level. And what I'm talking about here is Illustrious, Magnificent, Ethereum, Delphinaud, Ionad, Aranor, Obsidian. Obsidian Tier 1, Tier 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all those matter. The second thing that matters is which grade of no-break gem are you using? Are you using the ones that are Tier 1, which are the ones you buy straight up for honor? Or have you put Lunarite in them and upgraded them to Tier 2 Lunagems? That is the second thing that matters. And the third thing that matters is the gem slot number that it's going into. Like, your first gem cost X, your second, your third, your fourth, fifth, all the way up to 9. So what doesn't matter is the item type. Like, so if you're putting a gem into a piece of Ionad armor, it costs exactly the same as it would if you were putting it into an Ionad weapon. It also doesn't matter the grade of the item. And what I'm talking about here is like if you have a legendary and a mythic weapon, the cost to socket it fully is going to be exactly the same. So legendary, mythic, it doesn't matter. And finally, if you're mixing in old pre 4.0 gems with the no breaks, the cost to socket the no break starts in whichever gem slot that they're going into. So like if you have one non-no-break gem, which I think everybody should be using because A, they give you more gear score, 2, they have different stats, and they don't break when you put them in the old system. The first one is guaranteed, so you might as well use that. But anyway, if you're putting one so if you have one that's the old version and then you put a no breaker on top of it, it will start in slot 2. So you start calculating at slot 2. So ultimately what I ended up with was a pretty handy spreadsheet. You know me, I'm going to make a spreadsheet if I have the option to, that will allow you to quickly calculate the cost you're going to incur in gold as you gem up your items. So this will help you plan like how much gold you're going to need to get to a certain amount of gems in your item. So here's a quick look at the spreadsheet. A link, of course, will be in my video description. And also, it is at this point I would like to say to anybody in the community, you can use this spreadsheet and this data any way you see fit. If you decide you want to post it on your website, your forums, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to put the data, if you feel like it's going to help the community, you have 100% permission to use this data as you see fit. Of course, the goal is to help as many people as possible. So if we're going to look over this spreadsheet, and it should, I'm going to explain it, but it should be pretty straightforward. So the first thing that you want to do is find the item that you're going to be gemming in column A. The next thing that you want to do is know which type of gem you're using, i.e. tier 1, ones you buy just for honor, or tier 2, the ones that you craft up from the tier 1s. You'll also notice that there's actually a row here for tier 3 gems, and the reason I did that is I'm thinking ahead. I know in 4.5 we're going to get tier 3 gems, so I made a row for it. And then the last thing that you're going to need to know is which gem slot that you're going to be slotting into or starting out with. So it'll take you up from the first slot up to 8, and there's actually some that have 9. You may have actually noticed that that's number 9 here. These 9 gems is listed, but unfortunately for me, and even on the test server, which I'm currently on, I don't have a single eternal grade anything. So I had no data here. Also, many items don't have values for the 8th slot. That is actually picked up by mythic grade weapons, which, as you can see here, I actually had 4 of those. Just a random magnificent that I had that was mythic. Then I, of course, had Ionad, tier 7, and Aranor, again, test server. So it's not like, I felt like this was good enough to release to you guys, because it's not like somebody's going to be gemming up a mythic slot fucking illustrious item, but if you are and you want to send me a screenshot, I'll definitely add the data to the spreadsheet. Okay, so there's one last thing that I want to talk about, and I know a lot of you out there are probably using dungeon weapons, Missong weapons, and armor. And I want to show you something that's pretty cool that I found while I was asking questions and answering them of myself. So if you open up your item encyclopedia, that's if you go down to the bag and click this little button down here, any item listed in the same tier or the same level will cost you exactly the same to gem. So like on this spreadsheet here, I've tried to list it a little bit. I listed this label here is called Aurora in tier 1 obsidian. So if you go to the item encyclopedia entry and you look, let's say, for the tier 1 obsidian weapons, all the other weapons listed here will be exactly the same. Now, you may say, how do I know, or how do I believe you? Well, I actually confirmed this. I do have a monstrous desire. I had a tier 1 obsidian weapon, and I also have an Aurorian Lost Garden weapon. I gemmed them all and confirmed that every step of the process, it costs exactly the same to gem. So if your item is not listed in this spreadsheet, all you have to do is open the item encyclopedia and find your weapon or armor piece and see if anything in that level is listed. So like for example, if you wanted, or if you're one of those people that are rolling hardcore and you got some Thunderwing Titan weapons, or perhaps you have a Berserk Red Dragon Sword, you'll see that those items are listed in the same level as Ionad. Therefore, it will cost you exactly what it's listed here for the Ionad gemming. And there are a few data points that I didn't get, like the Prime Missong weapons. There's a couple of those. But based on their location in the encyclopedia, we know that it's going to cost you more than the Delphinod items, but less than the Tier 6 Obsidian items. So if you want to get a ballpark, all you have to do is say it's going to be more than this, but less than that. Right? Makes sense. And one last thing before I go, and this is just going to be a small response to a comment posted in a previous video, which I felt it was important enough for everybody to hear about. So if you don't think I read the comments, I read them all. I'm not big enough to where, I'm getting 50,000 comments. Pretty much the comments I get, comments I read. But I had to mention this one, and what was said was, the comment was, well, first of all, what had happened is, in the video I had mentioned that Tryon had reached out to some of the more active creators in the Archeage community, and what their goal was to provide us additional resources so that we can continue and easily make videos such as this for the community. So at that time, the user had cautioned me about making such statements, and the logic being that in the past there's been some history with Tryon, saying something and then not following through. And honestly, that was a very good point, and that's probably why this is still on my mind, making this video, a few weeks later. However, in this case, I needed some very specific resources on the test server so that I could gem each tier of items. And if it had not been for Tryon providing me those resources, I would not have the data points that I have now. In fact, there would have been no way for me to get any Tier 4 or Tier 6 Obsidian data points at all. That would have been completely blank, because I simply do not have the time I need to farm the pearls for the oils, and then run the dungeons to get the abyssal crystals that are now required in obsidian crafting. So in the end, ultimately what I want to say is this. Yes, I personally sat down, made this video, and I personally sat down and gathered the data. And it took me a few days and a lot of labor and a lot of alts, but ultimately I would not have gone down this road had it not been for the original question by Ishmael Gaming. Also, I wouldn't have been able to complete this without help from Tryon. So what I'm trying to say is, while things are not always perfect, we as a community working together can make things happen. So keep those questions coming, do your part, and I'll do mine, and we'll get it done. So that's pretty much it for this video. Now it's time for the obligatory wrap-up. I hope you've all found this information both helpful and informative. That is the goal of every video. You can show your support by asking questions, putting something there in the comments section on this video, or simply by liking and subscribing if you have not yet done so. Remember that you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, as well as Discord. Remember, my live streams are also on Twitch every Friday after Tryon does their live stream, and that starts at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time zone. And I generally always have something to give away. I am a Tryon creator, so I have Tryon creator codes, and I give away other things as well. So for those of you who want to show a little extra support so I can keep these videos coming, you can support me on Patreon for as little as $1. Until next time, this is September saying, be well.